What's up guys, this is Zach with Top Deck Nation, and today we're going to be looking at the Sun and Moon card list, and this is going to be the English card list. So probably a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so, I released the Sun and Moon set that was in Japan that was leaked out and everything, but it looks like now we actually have the English card list, so we can actually see what's in the set. And for the most part, it looks like, it's pretty much spot on with what the Japanese list is. There are a few exceptions here. For example, we're not getting a lot of the cards that are currently released as either promo cards or cards in the Sun and Moon 1 Plus set, which is basically, these mini sets that kind of go along with the Sun and Moon set or whatever set in Japan. And that set's going to be called the Sun and Moon Strengthening set there. So what I wanted to do is just kind of go over the list just for a minute or so and then look at the cards that we're actually not going to be getting. So these will be cards that, more than likely we'll get in the second set, I believe. So hopefully we'll get those. And I think that set should drop sometime in May, probably early May or so. It's usually every 3 months or so with every set. So for the most part, it looks pretty straightforward here. We do have Lapras Gx, which has that awesome ability. It lets you place 20 damage on anything every turn. If you haven't checked it out already, we made a deck profile featuring it and Tauros GX, so check that out. Looks like we see Laurentiis GX. It has that attack where it attaches 2 energies, I believe, from the discard for 1 energy, so it's really good. And hopefully we'll have a deck profile for that up in the next day or two as well. There is Serena, so Serena does have that ability where it can discard cards from your opponent's hand, so that's pretty cool. We're also going to be looking at Incineroar GX coming in the new set, so that's pretty cool, having all 3 of the starters. I think Primarina EX is also in here as well. Looks like Lapras GX is in here. Of course, Lapras GX we featured in the deck profile for the new Waterbox deck, so Waterbox is pretty cool. It's kind of a sleeper pick at Nationals, but gained a lot of popularity just because it has a lot going for it. Rough Seas, free retreat with Manaphy, etc. So I think Lapras is a really good addition. And in general, even if you don't run it that way, Lapras has the attack that lets it draw 3 cards. It has the attack that lets you do 160 for 3 energy, which is good. And then, like a lot of the Pokemon in the set, you are going to have a nice GX attack, which is really an overpowered attack by itself, but thankfully you can only use it once per game, period. So they looks like they tried to balance that kind of thing out. We also see Alolan Muck and Grimer here. So Alolan Muck, if you don't know what it does, and it looks like we're also going to be getting Alolan Grimer and Muck. And if you don't know what Alolan Muck does, he's very similar to Garbodor in the sense that he's going to shut off abilities. So I think all the Muck cards, or most of them in the history of the card game, they've always had to do something with like ability lock, or, as they used to call it, Pokemon power lock. And it's kind of like how Vileplume always has some kind of trainer lock as well. But Alolan Muck is essentially more or less a silent lab. So it only shuts off the abilities of basic Pokemon. But the cool thing about that is you don't have to have any kind of tool attached. So you get the stage 1 out the second turn and there you go. So extremely strong against any kind of deck that relies on basic Pokemon abilities like Shaman's Setup or Volcanian's Volcanic Heat, etc. So a lot of times, I think in a lot of decks this is going to be replacing Garbodor. It really just kind of depends. Really Garbodor's played against things like Shaman EX and Greninja EX and things like that. So a lot of basics, but really a lot of evolutions too. So, only time will tell if it actually replaces it. And we're going to see a lot of extra GXs here as well. We see Espeon GX, Lunala, Solgaleo, of course. So, a lot of really standard Pokemon GX here. We see Umbreon GX, of course, and Dragonite, which I'm really excited for. I don't know how viable it is right now, but I think in a Sun and Moon format, it does have a, slight chance to shine. It reminds me of things like Greninja and Garchomp, things that where the, the stage 1 actually gets some support to set up the stage 2. I think Dratini searches out for Dratini, Dragonair, or Dragonite, which is pretty cool. Dragonair lets you basically say that next turn I can attach as many energy as possible for my hand, and then Dragonite is just doing a load of damage. So be on the lookout for that, as well as far as maybe either a fun deck or maybe even like a rogue deck that ends up doing well, depending on if somebody actually finds a really good partner to go with it. We see Tauros GX. Tauros is really, really good, as we featured in that Decidueye GX profile. Has that GX attack where 30 times the number of damage counters on it, I think it does, and that's really good because if it has 70 damage on it, you're going to be doing 210, which is enough to kind of hit that magic number to knock out Megas like Gardevoir and Pokemon Mewtwo, as well as like Eviltal and stuff like that. So really good. And it looks like we get the majority of the trainer cards here. We've got Crushing Hammer, Energy Switch, EXP Share, a lot of staple cards that you're going to see in base sets. And that usually kind of hints at the fact that they're going to try to push for a Sun and Moon on format. Now, next format, more than likely, it's going to be something like Breakpoint on or Breakthrough on, which probably going to be the latter one. They want to keep those break mechanics in the game for a little longer, as they usually try to do. During the 2018 to 2019 format, I'm sure it's going to be Sun and Moon on. So we're going to see a lot of interesting changes to the game, hopefully making it a little bit slower. I mean, as you can see, a lot of these Pokemon GXs, the really strong ones that can set themselves up and stuff, they're actually stage 1 and stage 2s. So besides Tauros, of course. So I really think that's going to definitely impact the game. And a lot of the newer cards that are pretty Alolan exclusive or Alolan themed are on in this set as well. We've got Rotom Dex, we've got Team Skullgrunt, we've got Hal and Professor Kukui. So, you know, a lot of good supporters. And I mean, in the format right now, they're not amazing supporters. I mean, Professor Kukui, it does let you draw 2 cards and then your attacks do plus 20. So it's a little bit of a better Giovanni scheme, I guess. But looking forward, it looks like these are kind of the cards we're getting. I mean, usually the Professor cards are along the lines of Sycamore and Juniper, or even Oak, where you draw 6-7 cards a turn, but it looks like they're really trying to slow it down here. And then, of course, it looks like the good news is that we are going to be keeping Rainbow and Double Colorless Energy, which, you know, in my opinion, are staples of the game, but there have been formats where they kind of take that out. So it's really nice to have those as options. Really gives decks that don't really have a chance otherwise to kind of thrive. And then, of course, it's going to make Tauros ridiculously good as well. And then finally, there's your Ultra Rares, which are probably going to be your full arts. And I think there's actually Ghost Rares. I think there's like 3 different type of rares for every EX. I think the Ghost Rares kind of have like a rainbow kind of look to them. So I'm not really seeing those here, but maybe that's what the Ultra Rares will be in the set. Hard to say, but, you know, hopefully they'll put those in because they're really beautiful cards and really great for collectors as well. So as far as the cards that we're not going to be seeing in the set, guys, like I said, they're either promo cards in Japan that are currently being released, or they're in the strengthening pack of the Sun and Moon 1 Plus, which I said are mini sets that kind of go with the actual set. So in this case, the Sun and Moon base set. So we've got Beware GX, which is a promo, and it's got that awesome Big Throw GX attack that discards your opponent's active and all cards attached to it. So, you know, in the future, that might be really good. It does cost a lot of energy, but the fact that I can basically send an Eviltal EX that has 6 energy into the discard, or a Mega Mewtwo EX or something, is really good. We've got Toxapex GX, which has that Ultra Poison attack, which poisons and puts 10 damage between turns. So basically, you're going to be doing 100 damage between turns from poison, which is really good. Of course, the 3 psychic energy cost is kind of bad, but you never know. We might see some acceleration, especially with something like Lunala GX. Vikavolt GX, we're not going to be getting that. I like it, but it's a stage 2. First attack is really good. Charge Beam, 1 energy, 50 damage, attach an energy to this Pokemon. Now, there are better options, I think, in general. Laurentiis seems to be the best for as far as energy acceleration goes, so it's hard to say what use Vikavolt GX is going to have right away. We see Sylveon GX, Magical Ribbon, searches for any 3 cards, adds it to your hand, so that's pretty good early on. And then the GX attack returns 2 of your opponent's Pokemon on the bench to their hand, so that could be really good, especially if they only have a couple on the bench, if they're trying to set those up or something. So potentially really good looking on. And then lastly, as far as our GX go, we've got Drampa GX, which has that derail attack for 20 and discards a special energy attached to the opponent's active. So if you remember Cobalion EX, which was in Plasma Storm, I think, it had an attack that was really similar. I think it was called Righteous Edge, but I think it did 30 instead. So maybe they saw that it was a little too powerful or something, because this Drampa can fit in any deck. It's a colorless type. And it's also got that Dragon Shuffle GX attack, which shuffles your hand into your deck and draw 10 cards. And I mean, that's basically, you know, way better than Shaman EX looking on. I think in the Sun and Moon format, obviously there won't be a Shaman EX. There may not even be one next format. So this is a good alternative. You know, you retreat to Drampa your first turn somehow, use Dragon Shuffle GX, and there you go. So a lot of stage 1 cards, stage 2 decks, things like that. You know, they're really going to thrive because of this card. So definitely pick a copy or 2 up if you're looking to buy Sun and Moon pretty soon, and I'll try to have a video up of cards that I think will be the best investment for the set. I think there's a handful of cards that are pretty much must-haves. You know, if you don't have them, they're going to shoot up in price, so I'll hopefully have a video out to, you know, try to explain that as well. As far as our other Pokemon, we've got Laurentiis, and I've done a video of that as well, which I'll try to put in the in this video as a card or a note or something. But it's going to have that Sunny Day ability that gives you a plus 20 damage boost for fire and grass types. And as I said, you can actually kind of stack that with like Flareon's Flare Effect ability, which is an Ancient Origins, which basically turns any of your stage 1s into a fire type as well. So Laurentiis, be on the lookout for that. And then finally, we've got Absol, which that first attack lets you rearrange the top 4 cards of either player's deck. So I could definitely see that with something like Laurentiis, where you're kind of locking them in, and maybe you're setting up some kind of massive attacker and just, you know, going ballistic on them after you manage to kind of lock them in all the way. So, and then it's got the Doom News attack, return all energy cards attached to this Pokemon to your hand, and your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out. So kind of like Jirachi's Doom Desire, but a little bit stronger, I think. So definitely an interesting promo, but we'll have to see how it goes. And lastly, we've got a few trainer cards that we won't be seeing quite just yet. Altar of the Moon says that Pokemon with Psychic or Dark Energy attached have 2 less retreat. So that could be extremely good in decks like Yveltal EX or Darkrai or something. Or maybe even like Lunala or any other kind of Psychic looking on. Altar of the Sun basically says that your fire and metal Pokemon have no weakness, so this could be a game changer in things like Volcanion, but just keep in mind that where it's a stadium, you know, your opponent, if they're a really intelligent player, they're just going to kind of hold on to their stadiums until necessary. Multiswitch is going to be moving basic or special energy to the active Pokemon. It moves 1, so a lot of players think it's kind of going to replace Energy Switch later on, which is probably true. The fact that it kind of moves special energy around too is really good. You know, if I can move a DCE to something or a Rainbow Energy or something like that, it makes a really big difference, and it opens up a lot of interesting possibilities in the game. So be on the lookout for that in the next set more than likely. And then the last card I'll go over in this video, which is probably the most important one in my opinion, is going to be Choice Band. And Choice Band basically says that your Pokemon's attacks do plus 30 damage against EX and GX Pokemon. So this is a really big deal because it's going to make decks like Greninja extremely good. Greninja really struggles against decks like Yveltal or, you know, anything where their abilities are locked and they're stuck doing like 60 or 80 a turn. And this is really a game changer because suddenly Greninja can hit for 110, and that's going to be two-shotting a lot of those EXs and GXs. And it's good in general because, you know, anything can really benefit from it. So like Tauros GX or 1 energy attackers like Zygarde. So I think in general, Choice Band is going to be the card. Definitely invest in it. It's probably going to be $4 or $5, maybe more. So be on the lookout for that card as well. So that should pretty much wrap it up, guys. I tried to keep the video short, but I know it went on a little bit longer than expected. But just let me know in the comments which cards you're looking forward to seeing in the Sun and Moon set, whether it be the base set or the Sun and Moon 2 set, which will drop in May. I know I'm personally excited for Decidueye. You know, I've made some deck profiles. I'm probably going to make another one with something like Zygarde or, you know, even like a cheap donk deck like Latios EX. But there's really a lot of cards in the set that open up a lot of interesting decks and interesting strategies. And I think that's really the best thing about these base sets. They really kind of give you a hint of what the future is going to hold for the card game. But be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for, you know, more video content, guys. I think my goal this month is to try to push out videos every day, which is, you know, kind of a challenge, you know, to be honest, when you have like real life and you have school and things like that. But it's something I'm really just kind of passionate about, and hopefully you guys appreciate it as well. Check us out at topdecknation.com. We'll be relaunching the website later this month. So if you like free strategy guides, if you like articles or anything like that, you know, feel free to check it out. And then finally, check our Facebook page out at Top Deck Nation, just to kind of stay updated on everything. We try to post every day. So, you know, show your support and follow us if you would like to. But in the meantime, this has been Zach with Top Deck Nation. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.